Hey there, nation. Welcome to the show where we show you how to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and welcome to another edition of Ninth Age Battle Reports, Battle Report number 5. This is a 2,000 point battle report between myself, Commander CheapSkate, with my Legion of the Hellmouth Ogre Khans, versus Lady Domina of House Daycare, the Golden Reavers of Skyros, which is her 2,000 point Dread Elf army. So let's see what happens with 2,000 points of Ogre Khans, stack it up with 2,000 points of Dread Elves. Alright, so let's go to my 2,000 point army list for this one. It is called the Legion of the Hellmouth. It is a 2,000 point Ogre Khans army. For my Lord's Heroes choices, we have Taijin Hellfist, the right hand of change. He is a great Khan with Hellfist, Yeti Furs, Blind Eye of Nyagai, Arok's Charm, as well as the Mark of Change. After him, we have Papa Rottenjaw, who's a great shaman with level 4, with Rottenjaw Big Name, Iron Fist, and the Mark of Pestilence, and he's going to be using the Path of Pestilence for his magic for this one. After him comes Korgul the Spine Splitter. He is a Khan with a Spine Splitter Big Name, Mark of Wrath, Iron Fist, Battle Standard Bearer upgrade, as well as a Skull of Queen Get. After him, we have the Huntress. She is a level 2 Shaman with a Mark of Lust, as well as an Iron Fist. For my core choices, we have 3 units. The first one is the Blight Kings. It's a 5 tribesman unit with full command, heavy armor, Iron Fist, and Marks of Pestilence. After them comes the Wrathmongers, which are 5 bruisers with full command and the Marks of Wrath. And next comes the Nightkin, which is 5 tribesmen with full armor, full command, heavy armor, as well as Iron Fist. For my special choice, we have the Immolators, which are 4 Bombardiers equipped with Marks of Change. And for my rare choice, we have the Anvil of Hell, which is a Thunder Cannon equipped with a Mark of Change. So that is my army I'm going to take up against Lady Domina and her Golden Reavers of Skyros. Alright, my opponent Lady Domina is bringing in House Daycare, the Golden Reavers of Skyros. It is a 2,000 point Dread Elves army. For the Lord's Heroes choices, we have Lord Rakarth Daycare and Cilia, which is the Kennel Lord of Skyros. He's a Dread Prince with a Beastmaster upgrade, shield mounted on a Manticore equipped with an Alpha Predator upgrade, as well as Beastmaster's Lash and Armor of Destiny. After him, we have Lady Siobhan Daycare the Ten-Eye. She is a level 4 Exalted Oracle with a Talisman of Supreme Shielding, the Book of Arcane Power, and Path of Black Magic. Next comes Mistress Iridani, the Consort of Dagon. She is a Captain with a Fleet Commander upgrade. She's also Battle Standard Bearer, Shield, Heavy Armor Halberd, and the Banner of Gore Dakos is what she's bringing to the fight, which is kind of deadly because it gives you +1 to wound for your Greed Legendaries or for your Corsairs. For Lady Domina's core choice, we have the Sea Stone Sorrows, which is a unit of 38 Dread Legionaries with full command, spears, and heavy armor. After them comes the Shimmering Sinners, which are 10 Repeater Auxiliaries. And rounding up their core choices are the Harbingers of Kos, which are 5 Dark Riders, equipped with Repeater Crossbows and Shields. For her special choice, she has the Scion of Dagon, which are 10 Dread Knights with full command of Banner of Blood. And for her rare choice, she has the Reigns of Skyros, which are 2 Dread Reapers. And that rounds out her 2,000 point army list for this battle report.
Assemble the army!
Alright, with the armies being summoned, here is deployment. So instead of deploying my army all at once, I decided to basically do the alternate deployment with my opponent, just because it seemed like deploying my entire army all at once has been working out for me too well, so basically that's what I decided to do. So as you can see here, both our armies are displayed on our 4x6 table. I am on the near side with my Ogre Khans army, and Lady Domina's army is in the far right-hand corner, kind of like this weird kind of castle kind of deployment zone. So let's go zoom into the individual deployment zones and talk about why everyone's located where they're at. Alright, so here's my deployment from the left-hand column for my guys. You can see there on the very far left I have my Huntress with her 5 tribesmen with the Banner of Speed for those guys, so that's my flanking element. Right next to them you have my Hellblaster Volley, my Thunder Cannon, the Anvil of Hell, and then right next to them of course you have my big unit of Bruisers with Marks of Wrath. In that unit is also my General, which is my Great Khan, as well as my Bruiser. I'm sorry, not my Bruiser, my Khan BSB is where he's located in that one as well. So that makes the deployment here on the left side of my army. And for the right side of my army, I have the Blight Kings with Papa Rottenjaw, who is my Great Shaman. He's located on the left-hand side. On the very far right, you have my Immolators, which are my 4 Bombardiers. Basically, the goal is pretty simple. Basically, to get around the tower, use that tower as a demarcation point to divide my forces in half and kind of sweep into the front as well as the left flank of my opponent's army. So that is a tactic I'm using for this one. So with my deployment done, let's move on to Lady Domina's deployment. Alright, and this is the Dread Elves' left flank. As you can see here, basically she has her Scions of Dagon, which is her 10 Dread Knights. Behind them you have Beast Lord Rakarth of House Daycare. He's mounted on his, his Manticore right there in the back, right behind them. And then right next to them on the right-hand side is that massive unit of Dread Legionaries, the Sea Stone Sorrows. Inside that unit is her Captain with the BSB, as well as her level 4 Exalted Oracle. So that's where her army is located here on the left-hand side. And on the right hand side, here's the Dread Elves' right flank. As you can see, they're pretty much located on top of that hill. Up on the top of you got the Reigns of Skyros with the 2 Reaper Bolt Throwers. Right in front of them, of course, you have the Shimmering Sinners, which are the 10 Repeater Auxiliaries, or the Repeater Crossbows right in front of them. And on the far right hand side, you can see the Dark Riders located there, the Harbingers of Kos. And basically, they'll be about 12 inches ahead of time when you start the battle because of Vanguard rules. So this makes up Lady Domina's entire deployment. And with that, let's move on to turn number 1. So here's a picture top of turn number 1 after for the Dread Elves, which is after movement phase. As you can see there, I didn't get to go first on this one. That's because I did the alternate deployment. I kind of thought it kind of helped me out better a little bit on this one to get my army set up, but I basically lost the advantage of going first, so no biggie there. As you can see there, basically, Lady Donna takes her entire army and basically just starts moving them forward, keeping her Shimmering Sinners as well as her Bolt Throwers left on the hill. As you can see there, basically, she kind of goes around the center tower there with her Dread Knights on the left, as well as her Dread Engineers on the right. You can't really see in this photo, but I'm going to show you in a close-up. Her Beast Lord is on the mana core is right behind the towers, that way I can't shoot with my long-range artillery. And her Dark Riders are on the far right off the camera, but that's okay though, because we're going to now zoom in on the different areas where they're coming in at. Here's a close-up of Lady Domina's military forces heading towards the tower. As you can see, there's the Dread Elves, their Dread Knights down the left. Right behind it, you can kind of see the wings kind of poking at the back there. That is where her Beast Lord is located at. And on the right-hand side, of course, her Dread Legionaries with her Exalted Oracle, as well as Captain Battle Standard Bearer. So that is movement on this side of the board for her. Here's a close-up of her Dread Legionaries, her Repeater Auxiliaries, as well as her Repeater Bolt Throwers located on the top of the hill there. As you can see, they're just kind of posting out there on the right-hand side of that tower. Basically just waiting for me to come up to them. So that's moving for her army on this right-hand side of the board. And as you see in this close-up on the very far right-hand side, that's basically what she set up for Dark Riders. Basically, she had those guys vanguard up 12 inches, and then she marched them as quickly as she could, and then had them basically turn to fire the repeating crossbows along my immolators there on the right-hand side. So that is the move phase for her on this turn. During her magic phase, Lady Domina managed to pop off Bolt of Darkness. I was unable to stop, and basically she inflicts her 2d6 strength 5 hits. I ended up being kind of lucky because all she managed to do was to generate 4 of those dice. I managed to save 4 of those dice, 3 of those dice, and basically 3 of them basically kind of wounded. So because of that, I lost 1 Bombardier, which is kind of sad about it. However, there is a payout for such power. She rolled overwhelming power in order to get it, and basically rolled a 2.
Klaatu! Miranda!
And she managed to kill 15 members of her own unit, basically. So 16 of those Dread Legionaries that were there are now gone because basically when she exploded, she had that huge template. She used 5 power dice to get it off, so because of there were strength 5 hits, and basically she lost. Oh, sorry, not 5 dice. She had 3 dice that she used to get that spell off, and because of the +2 MDU for the blast, basically it was a strength 5 hit. She lost 16 Dread Elves to that attack. So because it was glorious, I was like, you know what? If you're gonna kill Dark Elves, just do that for me. Just blow yourself up, which is kind of cool as well. I forgot to mention before she unleashed with her Doombolt spell, her Bolt of Darkness spell, she did manage to get off Morak's Fury, which gives her Dread Spears Dread Legionaries +1 strength. So because of that, she did get that off ahead of time, but after the cataclysmic explosion, basically half her unit was gone, lost all of her power dice. Unfortunately, her Wizard gets sucked into the warp, but 16 less Dark Elves to worry about is well worth it. With magic out of the way, we go directly to the shooting phase. As you can see in this picture, basically those Dark Riders start opening up on me. They managed to kill off one of my one of my Bombardiers in the process of doing so. So that got kind of sad. And then after they got done shooting me with those Repeater Crossbows, then it went down to me with those Dread Repeater Bolt Throwers. They went with the 2 single-shot ones. The first one missed, but the other one wounded and killed my 3rd Bombardier, which caused my opponent to go into a panic check. Basically, I failed that panic check because I just rolled pretty poorly on that part. Rolled 2d6, and those guys basically flew off the board and they were gone. So because of that, my Bombardiers are now gone, as well as half of my shooting ability. So I was kind of sad about that. But with shooting over, since there's no close combat, we move on directly to turn number 1, bottom of turn number 1, for yours truly. Alright, so here's the bottom of turn 1 after movement. As you can see, basically I just sent everything as quickly as forward as I possibly could. Starting from the left-hand side, I took the Huntress and her, the Night Cannon. I basically marched their full 14 inches up to the left-hand side to get ready to set themselves up for next charge next turn. I also brought my Anvil of Hell as well up to the center, so that way they can open fire onto those Dread Knights, and possibly maybe the Manticore if I'm actually kind of lucky on that part. For the right-hand forces, as you basically see there, basically I took my Wrathmongers with my Great Tyrant as well as my Khan and kind of shuffled up to the left-hand side of that tower, just kind of add support to my attack. I knew that my opponent was probably going to send her Dread Knights either into my tribesmen or into my bruisers. I was kind of hoping she'd do it with my bruisers. Same thing with her general, so that way I can flank with my with my tribesmen on the left hand side of the Night Hen guys. So that basically I was kind of holding out for that part. And as you can see on the right hand side, my Blight Kings with my Great Shaman basically just kind of marching forward towards those Dread Spheres, which I'm not really too scared about anymore because half of them are pretty much gone. So yeah, that's moving on this side of the board. Alright, so after moving over, we go directly to the magic phase, and with that I get off Massive Flesh off, and manage to get that spell off. Basically give my bruisers a 5 regen save as well as their armor save as well, so it's kind of good to give them double saves because they're going to get charged with something big. I know exactly what's going to happen with that. As a plus, I got basically the Necrotic Blessing off on top of my Great Shamans because he's now +1 toughness, which is always awesome, so magic doing pretty good for me so far. And the Huntress, she managed to get off her spell too, which is Frenzied Hysteria, so that way she gives her unit Frenzy now. So that way they can basically get 1 additional attack as well as be immune to Psychology and also charge as well, which is kind of nice too. Unfortunately, they had to take a D6 Strength 3 hits. Basically, I only inflicted 1 on my Ogres, so that's the small price to pay to gain Frenzy for the rest of the battle, which is always awesome. So Magic phase did me pretty good on this one so far. And with Magic over, we go directly into the shooting phase. And the shooting phase, I open up the Anvil of Hell and managed to plink off 2 of those Dread Knights. So basically made that unit a little bit smaller so that way it can deal with what Ogres can deal with later on if they whatever unit that group ends up getting a charge on. So that part was kind of cool. I was kind of sad I was trying to aim for the Manticore, but the Manticore is positioned in such a way I really couldn't hit Lady Dominus General. So yeah, I'll take what I can get. So with shooting phase over, we go directly on, and there's no hand-to-hand combat, we go on directly to turn number 2 for the Dark Elves. Alright, this is the top of turn 2 after movement. As you can see there, the Dreadfells just basically moved out. Lady Dominant basically charged the majority of her units. Fortunately for her, however, her Dread Spears didn't make the charge. Same thing with her Dark Riders. They kind of felt their charges. They just kind of shuffled up a little bit on that side. However, in the center there, her Dread Knights as well as her General successfully charged into the flank as well as the front of my Bruiser units, so my Wrathmongers. So that part was kind of sad, but you know, what you're going to do about that. Also on the top there on the hill, you can see there she basically moved her Shimmering Centers up forward about her maximum 5 inches, that way she can shoot as well. So as you can see that most of our army is now on the move and getting ready to bring the pain, so to speak. Here's a close-up of her Beast Lord as well as her Dread Knights charging into my Wrathmongers, and that battle's going to be kind of interesting because now I'm engaged the front and the flank, so I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen with that one, but we'll see what happens. And there's a close-up of her Dread Legionaries as well as her Repeater Auxiliaries, basically moving in for the kill as well. So with movement over, we go directly to the Magic phase. The Magic phase ended up pretty much being a wash for her during her phase, so because I would go on directly to shooting phase, and basically she kind of fumbled on her shooting, it wasn't all that good. Basically her 2 bolt throwers basically missed when they went with the solid shots aiming for my Blight Kings, and her basically her repeating crossbows being fired from her Dark Riders were the only ones that did any real damage. They managed to put 2 wounds on top of one of my Ogres, but for the rest of her shooting, basically she was either out of range or she missed completely. So with shooting phase over, we go directly to the combat phase. And the combat phase is full of all kind of ridiculousness. The first thing that my opponent does that he issues a challenge for my general, and basically I say bring it on. So I basically step up with my with Tian John, the right hand of change. So those 2 guys basically go at it. Unfortunately for my opponent though, and we didn't manage to get off any wounds on each other. Either we missed or our wound to wound rolls were too low. We weren't able to cause much damage to each other at all. So because of that, both those guys remained unscathed. However, in the close combat between my Bruisers as well as my Khan against those Dread Knights, the Dread Knights managed to put 2 wounds onto my Khan, which is kind of sad, so I was really upset about that. And they also managed to kill one of my Bruisers, but when my Bruisers and my Khan returned attacks, they basically just smashed those guys in pieces and absolutely destroyed them, which was pretty awesome in my opinion. So that part was pretty cool. The only problem is now that my Bruisers are basically stuck there with my Khan, so long as my Khan stays with them inside the unit. So I'm thinking for my next turn, when it comes to my turn, I'm just going to leave my Khan behind and basically send my Bruisers out and have them whip around that tower and basically just move on without my general, because my general and this Manticore and this Beast Lord are pretty much equal, and this fight's going to be like a grinding one is basically what it's going to be like. So that's pretty much combat with this one, and with combat being done, we go directly to bottom turn 2 for the Ogre Khans. Alright, so this is the bottom of turn 2 for the Ogre Khans after movement. As you can see there, basically I just start sending my army around that tower and start sweeping towards where the main battle line is located at the hill there. As you can see, I basically move my Khan out of the unit, my Great Khan out of the unit, and leave him engaged with that Beast Lord. So he's kind of stuck there with the combat because those two are stuck into a duel. My Bruisers, as well as my Wrathmongers, as well as my Night King, as you can see on the left-hand side, they kind of sweep around and start making their way around the tower to start charging from the left, heading towards the right where my enemy's lines are. As well as my Thunder Cannon, I basically move them up 6 inches as well, so that we can start taking pot shots at either the bolt throwers or at the what you call the shimmering sinners as well. As you can see on the right hand side, my Blight Kings with Papa Rottenjaw basically just charge right to that massive unit of Dread Legionaries, and now we're kind of stuck in it now with close combat. So that is movement for me on this part. Here's a close-up of my Wrathmongers with Korgul, my Khan, as well as my Nightkin with the Huntress basically moving out, as well as the Anvil of Hell, basically bringing up support right there on the right-hand side of that, left-hand side of that tower. So here's a close-up of that shot. And here's a close-up of my Great Khan, kind of going hand-to-hand combat style with my opponent's general, so we'll see how that goes, because these guys are going nowhere so far with the wounds, so we'll see what happens with that. And here's a close-up of my Blight Kings with Papa Rottenjaw charging into the front of that huge unit, well, not really huge anymore, that small unit of Dread Legionaries. So basically we start hiding those guys in the next combat phase. So that is pretty much done with me, and with movement done, we go directly on to the magic phase. And the very first spell that I get off is that spell, Cleansing Infestation. That's the one where basically the unit takes D6 Strength 5 hits and keeps on doing so until basically they pass one of their toughness checks. I managed to kill off 3 of those Dark Riders over a course of 2 different turns, so that part was pretty epic. Basically caused enough damage for them to take a panic test. They basically fail the panic test and they run away off the board. So that's what you get for killing off one of my Bombardiers, you punks. So that part felt pretty good. And also during the magic phase, I managed to get off Leper's Curse onto my Ogre Khan and basically gave him a buff where I basically increased his toughness by D3, so he got +3 toughness for him for his next combo when he fights my enemy's general on that part. So that pretty much makes the magic phase. And with magic done, we go directly into the combat phase. And combat on this side was absolutely brutal. After doing impact hits, I killed about a quarter of their guys off during that process. Then the proper combat rounds that took place, I managed to kill half of my guys. But through a combination of the attacks I was dishing out with poison attacks as well as on top of stomps, I basically destroyed that unit. All that was basically left was the wizard as well as the battle standard bearer. Basically, because of all the losses they took, they had to take a panic check. They broke. I pursued and I destroyed them. So because of that, that unit is now dead right there, which is kind of nice about that part. So now I have to worry about getting into those shimmering sins, which are those crosswomen over there in the distance. I'm at half strength now with my Ogre Khans, but you know what? I killed me a lot of Dread Elves, and that is all worth it as far as I'm concerned. And over on this side, the combat gets ridiculous on this part. Once again, my opponent is unable to do any damage to me whatsoever. And the reason why is because of that +3 toughness that I gave my my Great Khan in this battle. So because of all of his wounds were ineffective, he wasn't able to wound me at all. Wasn't able to get the multiple wounds off with his mana core because he couldn't penetrate his initial wound, which really saved me a lot. Not that it would have been too bad because I have the Aurochs Charm, would have half the much damage would have gotten from multiple wounds anyways, but you know, that's the case, whatever the case may be. It was actually kind of nice. I also managed to inflict another wound onto the mana core as well. So because of that, my enemy's general is now halfway dead, which is always awesome. So with combat being wrapped up on my side, we move on to turn number 3. Now, this picture is a combination of both turn 3 for the Dread Elves as well as the bottom of turn 3 for the Ogre Khans after movement. And the reason why is because my opponent basically didn't have that much of a fantastic turn at all. Basically had no magic phase whatsoever, so nothing much happened there. During the shooting phase, my opponent basically missed with all his shots or was not able to wound any of my characters, so because of that, there was no pictures to show there. And plus, when it came to the hand-to-hand combat between both my lord and his lord, both our generals, basically no damage was exchanged at all. So it was kind of like a lackluster round, so I kind of didn't take any photos about it because nothing much happened during that combat phase. So with that being said, on the bottom of turn 3 on the Ogre Khan's turn, as you can see there, basically I just moved my units and basically charged. On the left-hand side there, you can see I marched up my Nightkin with the Huntress. They basically marched up the full 14 inches, getting closer to those bolt throwers over there. I also moved to the 6 inches for my Thunder Cannon to get them lined up for a perfect shot to hit both those bolt throwers in a perfect unison, so hopefully I can get a double shot for one. If you look down the bottom towards the tower, you can see that my Wrathmongers are basically turned around and started marching towards the general, just because I'm afraid he might kill my general, in which case my bruisers will basically get revenge for that. So that is movement for as well as turn 3 for the Dread Elves. Here's a close-up of my generals and Lady Domina's general also still engaged in close combat, still kind of staring each other down. And there's also a close-up of my bruisers coming in to help assist on my lord in case my general loses this round of combat, finally gets killed. So there's that close-up. Here's a close-up of my Thunder Cannon, the Anvil Fell, as well as my Huntress, as well as her Nightkin basically marching up and trying to get closer to the range to the rest of the Dread Elf army. So that's this close-up. And here's a close-up of my Blight Kings with Papa Rottenjaw charging to the front of those Shimmering Sins, those crossbowmen, about to tear up another one for those Dark Elves. So with that, that's done with the move phase. With the move phase done, we go directly to the magic phase. During the magic phase, I re-upped my Leper's Curse spell onto my general and basically rolled a D3 again, and also increased his toughness by 3. So that's pretty epic because that toughness 3 is the only thing that's keeping me safe from being mauled to death by that mana core. So it's kind of nice because I'm also tying up that general in the challenge. So loving that spell all day long. So Path of Disease seems like to be a really good path for me to use. And because my disease magic doesn't quit for my lore attribute, I also get a +1 toughness onto my Great Shaman as well. So he was already tough to begin with. Now he's even tougher because he's got the +1 toughness, which is just pretty epic as far as I'm concerned. With magic fully complete, we go to the shooting phase, and basically my Thunder Cannon gets himself a 2-for-1 on Elvish bolt throwers. Once again, he lines up his shot between those 2 bolt throwers, makes the first shot, tears right through that one, destroys it with 4 wounds onto that bolt thrower, gets rid of that thing. The second shot, it hits it at strength 5, managed to put my D3 +1 wound on top of that one too, got 4 wounds on that, and blew up those bad boys and sent them straight back to hell where they belong. So no more Dread Reapers anymore for me, so that was kind of awesome on that part. And with shooting phase over, we go directly to close combat. And in this picture, as you can see, my general finally killed that Beast Lord. He managed to slip the last 2 wounds on top of him, received no damage returned because of increased toughness, and my general is victorious and gets his one-on-one combat with Lord Rakarth of Daycare and killing off his Manticore. So that was pretty freaking epic as well. Unscathed, unharmed, just totally the man right now. So I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, kudos to my general and to the rest of my army for that magical spell. So awesomeness. And with that being said, this also brings us to the end of the game as well. So this is what the board looks like. My opponent, Lady Domina, basically takes a look at what's left over. All she has left is her Shimmering Sins for her Crosswoman. Decides not to go into the combat phase of that, and she basically just surrenders and says, you know what, you were done, you win. So basically she calls the game right at this point. So as you can see there, I still have my General, still have my Wrathmongers. My Blight Kings, I may or might not have had them by the end of the battle, but I definitely would have kept my Nightkin as well as my Huntress, as well as my Thunder Cannon. So all in all, pretty successful battle, pretty successful run. So with that now, this game is now over, and we're off to the after action report.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Sure, I could have stayed in the past. Could have even been king. But in my own way, I am king. Hail to the king, baby.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is the after action report. This is the part of the battle report where we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we go to battle with the Ogre Khans army. This is the after action report for 9th Age battle report number 5. This is fought by me, Commander CheapSkate, the Legion of the Hellmouth, with my Ogre Khans versus Lady Domina of House Daycare, the Golden Reavers of Skyros, which is a 2,000 point Dread Elves army. At the end of the day, it ended up being a victory for yours truly. So let's talk about some of the factors that led to my victory, what we can learn for the next time we go to war. So first of all, just plain and simple, magic saved me this battle. It's as simple as that. Both in terms of miscasts and the type of spells I was using as well. That miscast near the beginning of the game, where basically those 15 Dread Legionnaires got wiped out, saved me a lot of pain and effort to take them on later on, allowed my Tribesmen to basically sweep through that unit, so because that really helped out as well. Plus all the buffs I received from both the Path of Disease as well as the Path of Lust really helped me out as well. Getting Frenzy, getting toughness increases, getting regens, all that kind of stuff really helped out a lot. So because of that, those magic spells really helped out a lot. The Product Curse, for example, was the one that really saved me, especially with my Great Khan. Basically, when he's fighting that Beast Lord from Lady Domina's army, that really helped me out as well. Having +3 on an Ogre Khan is no joke, and it really helped me stick it out, especially since I was facing against an opponent that dishes out multiple wounds. So that part really helped me out as well. As a negative, however, I feel that my units are too spread out and too light. Half of my units basically didn't see action because they're too spread out. So because of that, I also don't like the idea that my ogres are too light in the terms of the numbers in their units. I mean, I had every single time I lost an ogre, I basically was taking a panic test every single time to do that. And the numbers that I need to make sure that I don't do that I have to concentrate my points more and have to rethink my list and make my unit stronger as well. And I think the way that I can only do that, however, is by getting rid of the Hellfist big name. And the reason why that's the case is because while Hellfist does give you a lot of advantages, like +1 to strike with Mark of Wrath, -1 for your opponent to hit you with the Path of Pestilence, gaining the ability to use different types of magical, flaming, divine, or hellfire attacks for market change. I mean, those things are all really great. But the problem is that it's a real killer on points. It's eating up a lot of points within my army, things I can't purchase as well. I can't buy a lot of chaff units, I can't get scraplings, I can't get saber-tooth tigers, I can't get hunters. So because of that, I'm thinking about rethinking my list and maybe going with just a really pure Ogre Khans army without the Hellmouth. So I might have to debate that. You know, I got some time to think about it, but you know, that's the direction I'm thinking about going in that part as well. Once again, I'm still having a lot of fun making these game report reports. I still love the 9th Age. I'm kind of glad. It feels like a spiritual successor for what 9th edition would have been like if you know, certain things had happened. So because of that, I'll keep on making these battle reports, keep on making them, and moving on. Once again, as always, Lady Domina, excellent opponent. I love playing against her Dread Elf army or Dark Elf armies back in 8th edition. Always a fun time. So yeah, all in all, still good. Once again, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, give me thumbs down, give me comments. That way the feedback really helps out these battle reports, helps to make some adjustments I need to, like taking in sound bites or putting them in, or you know, questions on rules, things like that. It's always just helping me getting better is all it's doing. So once again, liking the back and forth and keep on going. So that'll be it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes battle report number 5 for the 9th Age, and once again, you stay classy. See you guys later.